I apologize for starting late. So I'm going to record this session for anyone who joined and that wasn't able to stay on. I will record it and post it. So give me 1 second. Let me collect myself here. Run a little bit late. So going to put us on pause. But before I do that, let me just introduce this session, which is called, this is AgiliTEA Time. I have not done one in a while, not video. I've been doing the AgiliTEA Times, which those are podcasts. And I may do those as webinars in the future. But this particular AgiliTEA Time, the topic is the 1, 2, 3's of numerology. And so I'm going to briefly discuss numerology and talk about that and the new services Agility has to offer in case you're interested in numerology consultations. So before I put you on pause, today, the number that came up, I like to kind of get a number and provide those to people every day. Numbers, they really speak. A lot of times we look at words and letters, as far as how to communicate, but actually numbers communicate a great deal of information as well. We know with our birthdays, you're communicating the day that you entered into the world, or that number communicates that. So a lot of times when we're thinking about language, we're thinking about letters, we're thinking about words, but numbers are a language as well. So I'm going to be talking about that in a few. Now, today, when I said I have a number, typically what I like to do is I like to be able to start my day off a lot of times with various methods of being able to just start my day and, focus it in on something specific. So, and I typically like to post as well, if a certain word comes up for me, as far as being able, a motivational word, affirmation to be able to provide to others that may assist them, then I'll post that on social media. So today, what I did is there is a card deck that I use. They're not tarot cards, they're numerology cards. I'm not too well, I have in the past learned how to read tarot decks, so that's something that I am familiar with, but these are actually numerology cards because I like to couple that with the numerology services that are offered in the numerology consultations. So I typically do that in a various different methods. One is just pulling one card. And so today that card that was pulled was 15, or excuse me, the number 87. But, with numerology, you can do 87. Typically numerology, you try to reduce it down, or the method is to reduce the number down if they're double digits to a single digit. And then unless it's like a karmic debt number or a one of the numbers that you typically don't do that with, like 22s, 33s, and so forth and so on. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So anyways, today, the card I pulled was actually 87. So depending on how you do, numerology, that 87 can mean several different things. You may just, leave it there and it's like, okay, it's 87. Now, with me, the way that I do my numerology consultations, different ways, is pretty much based off of the person. So typically, what you can do is just go based off of the number that shows up on that particular numerology card, which was 87. It represents synchronicity. So while I put you on a brief pause, just, what does that mean to you? Like if you see synchronicity, if you hear that word, if you understand what that means, and if you don't, Google that while I put you on a quick pause, or the number 87. And keep in mind that 87, you can leave the 87 as is. It just depends on what it's saying to you. You can reduce it down to 15, depending on, again, because let's say, for instance, you were born, today's the 15th. So typically in numerology, you would reduce again. You would reduce the 87 down. So you would add the 8 plus 7. And so you would come up with 15. Well, that's still a double digit. And so you're going to reduce it down further, possibly, depending on, whether it's a karmic debt number, so forth and so on. So it really just depends on who, you're getting your numerology consultations from. I do mine typically a little bit different. It's based pretty much off of the person. Today is the 15th. So I happened to pull that card. 15th. So you might be born on June 15th. So that may say something to you, just based on, or you may reduce it down further and add the 5 and the 1, which is 6. And so that can mean several things to several different people. If you're Catholic, a 1/5 could be a feast day of a particular saint. If you're familiar with candomblé, which is a Brazilian, pretty much I would say it's a more of a nature, understanding nature as far as the interaction between human beings and nature and the different, I'll say, elements and spirits that are residing with us in the world that you may not be able to see with your eyes, or elements as well. So with that 1/5 reduced down to a 6, well, that might represent Shango, who is a Orisha. So again, what does that 87 mean to you? And I'm going to put you on a brief pause and let you kind of meditate on that for a second. And then I'm going to come back and then we'll finish this particular session up. Okay, I'm going to adjust this a tad bit here. Excuse me. Okay, so I put you on pause really quickly. So I'm going to finish this up. Today is going to be really short. I'm going to have another session on Thursday. So if you can join that one. But again, type in the chat box. Tell me, what does that 87 and that word synchronicity, what does that mean to you? What does that represent to you? Synchronicity is meaning that something is, when people talk about coincidences, but there's really no coincidences, but that's typically what a synchronicity would be, a coincidence. Let's say, for instance, you go to the supermarket and you see someone that you haven't seen in so long, and then you guys start talking, and then you figure out that you're kind of working on the same thing, or whatever the case may be. It's like, oh my God, I'm working on that too. Well, what did you get from that? And you guys kind of start talking, and you understand that the information exchange, the information you have, the other person needs, and vice versa. So it's a helpful interchange that was based off of this, let's say, chance or coincidental meeting that you both had with each other. So synchronicity requires us to understand that there's other things operating in the world outside of what we all can see. A lot of times we just focus on what can be seen, and we don't understand that there's so many other things at play. So when I talk about numerology, and my understanding of numerology is to understand that numerology is a language. It's a language, and it is a way that we're able to obtain information that we may not be able to obtain if we don't understand how these numbers are communicating, what they are communicating. So let's say, for instance, someone is into horoscopes and they understand, if a person is not into horoscopes, they'll look at space and just look at, oh, these are planets, and planet Earth and Mars and Pluto and so forth and so on, the moon and the sun, and understand it from that aspect. If someone is into astrology, then they will understand that there is something else going on with these planets and the constellations and space, outside of what we can understand and what we have learned in, I would say, in modern day science. So that's why a lot of things are considered to be pseudoscience, like astrology and numerology, because a lot of times these are things that cannot be put down, they're more abstract. And a lot of times when things are abstract, they are considered to be pseudoscience, and they're not necessarily as real as other things. But once you start learning a little bit more, then you'll understand that it just makes perfect sense. We communicate a lot of information with numbers. We communicate our date of entry into the world. We communicate who we are as far as social security numbers. We communicate time frame, dates. We've broken things down as far as the calendar is concerned. That is really tied. A lot of times people don't know, but that's tied to moon phases, as far as harvesting, and people that were farmers and still are farmers and planters, and they understand as far as the effect that things that we can't see have on crops. So again, there is a language. It's just like if you speak English and someone else speaks a different language, you may not understand it, but that does not mean that that is not real. It just means you don't understand it, but that is a different language. It's a valid language that people use to communicate with each other. So that is how I typically like to explain numerology. There's different types of numerology. You have Pythagorean numerology, Pythagorean, who created the Pythagorean theorem. He actually created what's called Western numerology or Pythagorean numerology, but that dates even back to Egypt, and some of these philosophers he learned from, and he penned what's called Western or Pythagorean numerology. No one would say the Pythagorean theorem, that's not real, that's pseudoscience. Well, if you say numerology, specifically numerology is not real, then you typically would say, okay, well, this person that created it understood mathematics more than the average Joe. He was the one that created that, so he knew something about numbers and how the numbers communicate information and allow us to be able to delve into certain aspects of life and other elements that we interact with in the world. So I'm just going to leave it there. If you're interested in any numerology consultations, feel free to check out 1-800-numerology.com. That is a service offered by AgiliTEA Solutions. Also, just want to do a quick plug on our teas. We have our own tea line now. In the past, if you've listened to any of our AgiliTEA Time webinars, typically what I would do is recommend a particular type of tea, because tea has a lot of benefits, social, medicinal, that goes back to, ancient times. People even read tea leaves. People don't know that, but some people know, some people don't, that was a form of people being able to obtain information, or people will call it divination, but some people use tea leaves. So there's a lot that tea is very ancient. It's an art and a science, but just to say that, to bring up our new AgiliTEA tea. We have our new tea line. I know I mentioned that a while back that we will be coming out with, and it is available now. You can get that on our site. You can go to agilitySVCS.com. We have so many teas. Summertime is here. So any of those teas, you can make into an iced tea. Because some people are like, why would I want to drink tea during this time of year? Well, you can make pretty much most teas, if not all, into iced tea. Even matcha tea, which I love. Check out our matcha teas. We have peach mango matcha. We have a peppermint matcha. We have one called a magical blue matcha, which I would recommend that one, or the peppermint matcha. Lots of different matchas, but even matcha tea, you can make that. A lot of people drink that hot. You don't have to drink that hot. You can make a latte, but you can make an iced latte. So check those out today. The one that I do want to recommend is our Chantilly champagne and berries tea. So now you can have champagne all day, every day, any day. So check that out on our website. It's at agilitysvcs.com. And again, look out for our future Agility Tea Time webinars. Agility Tea Time podcast and or webinars, and then our Agility Tea Time. We'll have just different blog posts, or you can go to our blog, or you can also go on our different social media sites and just gain value information just about different topics, as well as the benefits of tea for different purposes. So with that, specifically, I'm not going to say medicinal, I'm not a doctor, I can't give medical advice, but, tea has a very long history of being used for various purposes. One of those purposes being for medicinal. So you just want to go with the package instructions and diffuse as instructed. Some teas you diffuse longer, meaning you let the tea bag, or if it's loose leaf tea, you would put it in a infuser and you let that sit for a longer period of time than other teas. Some you don't need to steep that long, or let sit that long. Others you want to let sit longer because you're going to pull out the extract what's the essence of what's in those particular tea bags or flowers or whatever it is that particular tea is made of. So I'm not going to make this too long, and I'm going to just chime in on this chat here. 87 means my screen name of user ID for social media. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. So 87. Now, does it say anything else to you? Someone just typed in here that is actually their social media account. Now, what do? Maybe are you promoting something right now that you are promoting on social media? Now, what do you do? What is your profession? If you don't mind me asking. Or have you been thinking about changing profession? You're paralegal. Have you been thinking about changing professions? If you don't mind me asking. Because that is interesting. I do see your social media user ID. And the reason why I brought up if it's your social media user ID, and if you're looking in either, if you're using social media from promoting something, if you're thinking about changing professions, maybe social media is a way for you to start, or not professions or careers, or maybe you're thinking of starting something. And so social media, if that is your social media handle, maybe a good way for you to promote that, or to put that out there, maybe, motivational. Okay. Now, what time are you going to be looking for work in the same field, or are you thinking of going into a different field? And because sometimes I'll do three. Let me do a quick numerology consultation with you, and I'll just show you how that would work. With that being your social media ID. Give me one quick second. I'm going to pause my I'm going to pause my camera here. I'm going to go get my numerologists. They're cards. Again, they're not tarot cards. And please, I say that because my mom's like, oh my God, why are you reading tarot? I'm like, Mom, this is not tarot. It's numerology. It's not the same. It's the same thing. I do accounting. I work with numbers. I've always been good with numbers. And she knows that because I've done bookkeeping with her business since I was like, before I was even a teenager. No, I'm just like, oh Lord. So anyways, these are numerology cards. So I'm going to go get those and then I'll kind of delve into that a little bit more for you if you like. Okay, you changed it. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so I have my cards here. I don't know if you can see them. So that one was 37. That was the back of the deck, but this is the top. This is the actual card I pulled today. So what I'm going to do, if you can see me, I don't know if you can see me or not. Okay, so that would be, so the social media, oh my goodness, I didn't drop my cards. Let me wash them. I dropped them on the floor. That's not good for me to read with dirty cards. So let me wash these because I don't like my cards. Even after I touch them, I usually wash my hands before I touch them, excuse me. So I'm going to wash them really quick because I dropped them on the floor as I was trying to move this screen back so you can see me actually doing the cards. But yeah, so the social media marketing paralegal, so that's where it would make sense. That's where your social media handle is coming up. That's real. I would think would be really huge right now because especially with COVID, a lot of companies are moving to online. And so even with law firms, being able to reach out to clients and potential clients using social media is huge. And a lot of times paralegals are, they may not be as savvy with social media because that's typically thought of as like something marketing, a marketing aspect. So that I would believe would be an excellent, I think I do some paralegal courses and some paralegal, they were called paralegal tips. I think I have a free podcast. I'm going to look through them. So if you type in your email address or your text, your number, I will send that to you because I believe I did one on social media for paralegals, if I'm not mistaken. But I would think that would be something that would be gaining in popularity right now, especially because of COVID. And so you may not want to wait. You may want to start if you're waiting till after. I would think that would be even more something that would be more necessary now than after, because a lot of companies, including law firms, are using social media now. They're using technology to interact with clients and potential clients. But give me 1 second. I need to wash my cards because I was trying to push this screen back and I actually dropped them on the floor. So I'm going to go wash them really quick. So give me 1 second. I'm just cleaning them here. If you give me a second, I'm going to turn the camera back on, and then I am going to just do this real quick. I'm just going to do a 3. I'm going to pull. I can either pull 1 for you and see, like, if you have a specific question, just type it in the chat box. Like, let's say, for instance, would it be a good idea to wait, for and start applying after the COVID? Should I apply now? Should I focus in on the social media paralegal? Should I focus in on the rental community manager? If you can type a specific question, that would be helpful. I'm going to shuffle these really quick. Put too much water on this, and so they're sticking together. So let me make sure I dry them properly. And then also I have this on while I'm doing this. Another good thing to do, we have some career, I think it's called Talent and Careers and Numerology chart. And that will actually delve like very, very in-depth charts. Some of those charts about 15 to 40 pages that will go in depth based off, I'm not sure if you're familiar like with your life path number. That's based off of your name and your birth date, but it will go into actually careers that are good for you based off of, you know, your life path numbers and different numbers that it goes into that reading. So that is on our website. You want to go to agilitysbcs.com, and on that front screen on the right hand side, you can click on there, take you all to those numerology charts there. So we'll give you a talent and a career chart. So give me a second. I'm shuffling here. I'm not going to touch this screen again. I was going to try to push it back so that you can see me shuffling the cards, but I'm not going to do that because last time I did that, I actually dropped the cards on the floor. So I'm going to leave it like it is. So I'm going to shuffle them, and then if I have a specific question for you, I'm just going to go based off of this previous 87. That's your handle for your social media, and the fact that you're interested in going into new type of employment. But again, I'm going to pull one, but I would recommend getting the it's called a talent and career numerology chart. That's going to be more in depth. That's going to help you kind of determine what suits you, you know, based off of different numbers that are specific to you. This is just one card I'm just going to pull really quick just to kind of give a little bit clarity on the 87 and the synchronicity in your social media handle. So give me a second. Okay. Okay. So why is this one? Do you like nature, or is this number mean something to you? 7-4 or 11? Because again, this card, this is how the numbers are on the card, and what it represents is nature. But it could also, in numerology, you typically reduce numbers down if they're double digits. So this could also be 11 as well. So nature, you're saying, okay, the office rental community, social media, envelope stuffing, or graphic designer. Now, what's this last one? I see gift. Let me see if my chat. Oh, okay, no wonder I didn't scroll down. You have more information here. Okay. Will the state of she come to end this? Okay, you want to know if the state of it. Okay, nature. Okay, so let me pull one more. I don't know. Let me see. Now, why do you want to know if the state of emergency is going to come to an end this year? Do you want to know how that's going to impact your career decisions? Why is that important? Because we have the vaccines. I'm not sure if you're, someone that is, wants to or has or wants to get the vaccine, but we have that. We have, a lot of protocols that companies are putting in place. So why do you want to, what is that impacting by you knowing if the state of emergency is going to come to an end? Is that a decision you need to make based off for your career? Is that going to impact that? And the reason why I'm asking you that question, because I'm trying to hone your question in a little bit more, because to say that, because let's say, for instance, it does end this year, but you're wanting to know what career to go into, that may not have an impact on that choice, that decision. Okay, go. I see. No, but what does that have? Again, let me go back. Let me tone your question and leave a bit more. The local government's employment office, are you able to go there and like maybe get on their computer and apply for jobs, be able to go in and take particular courses that you can only do with the office being physically open? Because again, a lot of businesses as well as government has put different protocol in place to be able to handle, COVID and the things that are happening because of COVID. Okay. Now, what are you, and I know I'm kind of maybe getting a little bit nosy here, and it's not nosy. I'm asking for a reason. Why do you need to go in? And the reason why I'm saying, let me give you some information. Like for me, sometimes we're focused in on something, and there's another way. There's another way to accomplish what we want to accomplish, but we're so focused on that one thing. The other way can't come to us because we're not receptive to it. So what I'm trying to do is, like, what specifically do they have that you feel like you need to go when it's open? What are they offering you? And I'm not reading that from a card. That's just me understanding that sometimes we will hinder ourselves because we don't think there's another approach to what we're trying to do or what we're trying to accomplish. Okay. Okay. So this is what came up when you asked me that question. You need to have some patience. So, sometimes, there's more at play than we are aware of, and even our leadership is aware of. And so sometimes we need to have a little patience. We need to have some patience. That is when you ask that question. First, nature. So let's start off first. The 87, kind of, that to you represented your social media ID. Then when you asked me about explain that, then what came up was the other number that came up was one that represented nature. Then now, when you asked about the COVID, when the state of emergency, and I don't know if I have it upside down. I'm like, why is it showing this way? I don't know if it's the camera. I don't have it right. But anyways, then the word patience comes up. Sometimes we can't control certain things, and so we have to have patience. So does that help, or does it make sense? Synchronicity, nature, patience. So I'm going to type those all. And the number was 87. That was synchronicity. Synchronicity, excuse me. I might be saying that wrong. Synchronicity. Crow. Hopefully I spelled it right. T. And then we had, what was that, 74. And that was nature. And then we have, lastly, it was 2. Now, if you're dealing with something that, let's say, for instance, that's for you, because for some people, things may not be an emergency. For others, it is. It could mean eating, rent being paid, some things like that. Now, there's 2. Let me delve a little bit into that. There's 2 in patience. Sometimes you need some divine assistance. I don't know, what your religious background or your spiritual background is, but sometimes it's difficult in ourselves to be patient when we're dealing with some difficult things that for us, it's like, I can't have patience. Like, what am I going to eat? Like, I'm going to lose my job, or I'm out of work, or how am I going to pay my rent, or how am I going to pay this? It becomes extremely difficult for somebody to tell you to be patient when it's like, oh, okay, well, it's easy for you to say that because you're not dealing with this, and that. So when I'm at, as far as your spiritual practice or belief system, that's when it's really important to lean on that. Whatever that is, whatever that is, it's important to lean on that and to get some divine assistance in being able to have some patience and to understand how the timing of certain things are impacting you, and how to still be able to accomplish what it is that you need to accomplish, and be able to maybe sometimes even think of another approach to something that you're dealing with as well. And again, if you can get those charts, people might ask me, what type of numerology are you doing? What type? Because the 80, with the 74, typically numerology, you're reducing it down. I go based off of, the person that I am working with, because the 74 may be someone's year of birth. So I'm not going to reduce it down to an 11. Typically what you would do, you would reduce it down to a single digit, but certain numbers you're not going to do that with. Those numbers, you're not going to reduce those down, which 74, reduce that down. If you add the 74, that's an 11. You never reduce 11 down. You just leave it the way that it is. And that in and of itself has its own meaning connected to it. And so, but the 2, if you do reduce a 1 and 11 down, it would equal 2. So to me, I would even look at that and see what that, means as far as the consultation that I'm doing, and what that means for that particular person. But as far as numerology is concerned, and overall, what you're doing is you're reducing double digits down to single digit number, except for certain numbers that you don't do that with. You will let them be. Some people do. And then, that's why it just depends on the person. I call numerology, it's an art and a science, because people have certain ways. You have angel numbers. Sometimes you'll see repeating numbers, like let's say 2. You may see a 222. That's like an angel number. And so those, you're not going to sit there and reduce that number down and say, oh, that's a triple number. That means this. There's different things. There's Catholics have feast days on certain days of the month. If you're familiar with that, and a person would not reduce that, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Recommend reducing that down, because that signifies something to that particular person. So, typically with numerology, it's an art to it. Sometimes your religious and your spiritual practice is coming into play on what certain things mean to you, what they represent to you. A certain number may mean, it may represent something to you that it may not for someone else. So I know I started late and I'm going on late. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this particular session up. I hope it was useful. Again, just to kind of summarize 1, 2, 3's of numerology. Numerology is an art and a science. Numerology is it's a language. It's a communication. It's the way we communicate with each other. It's the way we communicate who we are, how others could communicate who they are to us. It is also an ancient method that has been created by philosophers. These are well-known people. These are not people that it's like, oh, well, what is this? This is hocus pocus pseudoscience. Well, I like to tell people when they say that, do you call the Myers Brigg personality profile pseudoscience? You're really giving people a personality type based off of, with this Myers Brigg personality profile. I've done mine. It's like, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. Do we call that pseudoscience? To me, I like to look at it the same way. To me, Pythagorean, who created, and I may say his name wrong. You have to excuse me sometimes with my way I pronounce things. But that Pythagorean, this was a mathematician. He was also, and some people may not know, he was a philosopher too. So to me, this man created Western numerology. No one's ever going to make numerology to me seem like, oh, that's this hocus pocus weird stuff. It's like, okay, well, do you say that about math? Do you say that about the Pythagorean theorem? We didn't understand that at one point because he actually created it. Well, what did we have before he created the Pythagorean theorem? How were we able to determine, like with triangles and so forth? How were we able to the length and be able to determine the length of huge structures based off of Pythagorean theorem? How do we do that before? There was this long, probably drawn out process of being able to do that, where this person came up with a method to be able to get that information in a shorter period, exact method. No one's been able to prove that to be not valid. So to me, that's how I look at it. But, I say to people, to each their own, to each its own. So anyway, just to, put that in a nutshell, it's a language, it's a myth, it's both art and science. How I just kind of explained for me, people will say reduce double digits down. Sometimes I wouldn't do that because it may be a feast day for a saint. It may represent certain things for certain people. And that number alone, like I just showed with the cards and this deck, and that's what this person did who created this. Certain numbers, this person didn't reduce down. They meant certain things like 7-4, nature. And the 8-7, synchronicity. So both art and science, a way to be able to communicate information and to be able to attain information and to be able to understand more about ourselves. Because if you learn more about like the life path numbers, then you're learning more about yourself. It's like the Myers Brigg personality profile. So for you, a person that is looking for a job or determining what career to go into, that would be extremely important. If that is something that you give credence to, it would be important to, narrowing things down to say, okay, well, you know what, like with the Myers Brigg personality profile, it'll tell you, based off of your personality, you will be a good bookkeeper. You're good at this. You will be good at that. And so taking that in when I'm looking for a job, it's like, okay, you know what, that helps me, so now I know it would be more conducive to me to look for a career for particular jobs in those particular areas, just like the Myers Brigg personality profile. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that up. I'm going to type in my email address here. If you want to reach out to me, I'm going to put my phone number in here. You can reach me there through phone, text. You can also reach the main number for Agility through text or phone. So this is text or phone, or say text or call. Website. So I would go to this website. We have several websites. We have where you're going to be able to find services that we offer is AgiliTEASVCS.com. So you'll be able to find the numerology consultations there. You'll be able to find, the teas that we have there. We have teas for different things. If you work in the legal field, it could be extremely stressful. And so we have teas that are helpful for that. Well, let's say, for instance, you are working and going to school like me. I was working and I was working on my MBA at the same time. And I was a single mother and my daughter was in ballet. So to me, matcha tea, I love matcha tea. I love matcha tea. So I didn't rely on coffee or energy drinks. I would drink matcha tea, and that would kind of help me and give me that focus and that extra little push to help me, stay up late at night, study, get up early in the morning, go to work a 40-hour work week, come home, take care of my daughter, do all the things she needed to do. So I love matcha tea. So that's why you'll go to the site and you'll see peach mango matcha tea, peppermint matcha tea, all these different types of matcha tea that you may have not seen anywhere else. But we also have a relaxed blend. And so sometimes you just need to relax. Sometimes you just need to kind of like, and so we have that too. Check it out. There are so many teas on that on their website, www.agilitysvcs.com. You can also go to agility.solutions. There you're going to find more of the mother approved services. It's like, you're reading tarot cards. I'm like, Mom, I'm not reading tarot cards. But anyway, you'll find more the financial planning and things like that. So that is where you can locate the different services that we offer from Agility Solutions. And we also have AgiliTEA Academy. And there you can find courses. We have lots of, what is it, AgiliTEA Academy? You can find it on Agility Services as well, but here you'll find paralegal courses, CLE courses. We also have some financial courses on there as well. Agility Academy, I think this is it. I think that is the website. Let me test it real quick. But if you don't get it there, then just go to, again, agilitysvcs.com is the best place to go, because it's going to point you to all of the various services that we have to offer for you. So I keep saying this. I'm going to wrap it up. Really, my son is in here. I'm in the process of moving, and I have boxes in here, and he's making these boxes into, like, I don't know if these boxes are supposed to be like Playland, a temple, Legoland. I don't know what's going on here. So I'm going to wrap this up before I have something going on in here, and I'm trying to move, and I'm like, I don't know, I need these boxes. So let me wrap this up. So thank you for joining. And again, text, email, or go to our website or call. Thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your day.